The pool stretched from the shallow step behind the house. You hadn't noticed until after you arrived that it was dusk and how the land on all sides dropped away, miles to the valley floor. The figure stepped out from your body. Arced above the surface, dove, you might have stood forever, silence shawling through the air like snow. Crystal, blue, lit somewhere from inside its depths. Even then, you didn't want to understand. Even then, you knew. That was Jan's Wiki. This is the Inspired Word Cafe. Woo! Oh my God! Oh no! Please! Oh no! Okay, so today we have a super rad poet, performer. He's also my neighbor. It's that time of the season. We're just sort of walking out the door and kind of looking around and just hauling people in off the street to read. We're going to get my other old German neighbor to read, but then she told me this super unsavory story about our Korean neighbors. So we went with Michael instead. So let's have a big IWC welcome for Michael V. Smith.
Yay! Thanks, Cole. I love that crazy German neighbor. Not as much as I love Jan's Wiki. It's sort of like being a flea and coming after God. Here's God's poem, and now here's your trashy poems by Michael V. Smith. Super excited to be here. Inspired Word Cafe, I love it. My first poem is called Prayer for Irony. It's not really a prayer, but it's a prayer. After his wife left him for a juggler they met in the supermarket, a tall, reedy man with fingers too fine for his short, plump torso, the artist did what he'd always wanted and bought a young terrier at the pound. He named it Irony, a cleverness in the face of grief, because wasn't it he that suggested they invite his future cuckold, the juggler, for coffee? Around the house, the dog peed everywhere paper hadn't been laid, making damp the hall closet, the sofa, and bed. Irony was a model pup when the artist was free and the holiest heck at deadlines. If the man had baggies, the crap was diuretic. Each evening, the artist cried, the puppy padded across the room and slept. When, after weeks of being single, the artist said yes to an invitation to picnic in the park with that intern who held the elevator on occasion just for him. Of course, he brought Irony, who vomited grass on the girl's light blue Mary Janes. Finally, the artist thought himself savvy to rename the beast Happy. All day, the terrier bawled for the moon in his small, convincing yowl until the sun rose on the seventh day and the man tried again with Lucky. By noon, a transport had flattened fur to grill the nimble way a round, dull period at the end of a sentence can render a trumped-up thought finite. Wow, puppies. Poor puppies. Be careful what you wish for. This is called Awkward Moments. I'm watching a videotape of my partner and I making love at 18. I can't get over how beautiful we were, how thin and small our waists and rib cages, how much hair I had. I found the tape in a box of things at my mom's house. She'd obviously been going through each of my diaries and photos. I thought you were happy and straight, my mom says that evening, half asleep, but bitterly. I am happy, but I never said I was straight, I tell her. I pick up the box to take it with me. You're welcome, she says, as a gesture. That's not really a true story. I got dreams from a bunch of people, so I made awkward moments out of a dream somebody had about their Snoopy mother. This is called, it's another dream, this is called I Dream a Dated War Movie. which is also not my dream. They're from dreams of friends and family. Sometimes when you want to generate material and your life is boring, you dip into the lives of other people. This is the psychology of an unknown friend or family member. I will not tell you who. Could be a neighbor. I dream a dated war movie. I'm watching a convoy of terrorists dressing up their army vehicles as farm equipment and ramshackle carts. They start down a road. They drive past a gang, kids in hoodies, having a barbecue without suspicion. In some 60s war movie montage, A Bridge Too Far or Day into Night, the trucks shed their disguises, graying boards shattering onto pavement, revealing howitzers on trailers, tanks, jeeps. It's cut to music just like a movie. A camera POV follows at highway speed. One vehicle is a little shack, the size of an upright piano, which clatters away to reveal a white guy sitting at a desk, zooming along the highway. He must be the leader. Jump cut. The scene is a living room with an elderly queer couple inviting me in. Their place is decorated with doilies under everything, portraits against wallpaper, rose furniture. I look out the door to a small suburban community. I know this is where the white terrorists attack. I'm watching the movie, but the me in the room doesn't know, just keeps coming in for dinner. And now for a little something different. This is called A New Song. Here in this narrow seat, with a God's eye view from the belly of unfathomable mechanics, 36,077 feet above the earth, I want only to grace the broad back of a man each tender moment his arm appears between his seat and the wall. I am no fool. I can pull this line of desire until it yanks free my father, who is ash, unsettling along the bed of the St. Lawrence River a short row from shore. My comfortless Adam. Years back, alive, his arms were full, holding what? A brambled apology, impossible to set down. Today, I'm listening to music on an airplane headed toward home. I resist touching a stranger. Leanne LaHavas sings, "We all make mistakes, we do. I learned from you." Prayer for hatred. Would evolution have given feathers to the reptiles had they loved the risks on the ground? You resent your limitations, hatred being the best of them, a force for undoing, unavoidable. Hatred is your beast rising up in the face of that which stands between you and fresh water. Must we debate if love is its bright twin, or if love, siametic, could live on its own? Has hatred not liberated more people than those who have done the enslaving? Dear hatred, sweet hatred, do you not move our enemies to know us better? Another dream. This one's called I Dream of Escape. I'm walking down a wide city street, Maine below Kingsway. It's twilight, danger in the air. Everybody knows of some recent violence. Outside an auto repair shop with its blue and white storefront, I hear rhythmic clanging, renegade, youthful energy. Uh-oh, this is bad, I think, but keep walking. I transform into a monk in burgundy and gold robes. I think this will protect me, but it doesn't. Men drag me in anyway. It's always men in men's stories doing men things. They have seized me because I'm a homo. A number of us sit inside the garage in a quiet line. We too are all men. We're still. The guys I thought mechanics are soldiers. They're wearing desert camouflage like Canadian troops in Afghanistan. The guy talking has a sweet face, strawberry blonde, brush cut, creamy skin, rosy cheeks. He informs us they will torture and murder us, then show the videotapes on television. I will myself out of there, somehow. I flee through the city, trying to get beyond their territory. I transform again. I am a woman and her husband. We are pretending to be Polish refugees because this will help. As a man, I am wearing a not very good blue suit. Me as wife is wearing a babushka. Our ruse is working, but we have talked to a group of older men casually sitting in a park without realizing they are powerful. As we are leaving, one of them, chunky, white-haired, says he's from Germany. He knows Poles, and they didn't sound like us. Sorry, neighbor. That's from my German neighbor. This is my most spoken wordy poem ever. These poems are in a book that I have coming out in like no time, called Bad Ideas. It's a book full of bad ideas. Poems, they're always bad ideas. Every poem is a bad idea. Write a novel, loser. So these are a collection that's coming out soon, and this poem, so I don't have them memorized yet because they're all kind of new, but this poem's the closest one to a spoken word, so I'm going to try to give it a little spoken word rhythm. We'll see how we do. It's called A Little Rant for Whining. How do you critique without the ignorant calling you whiny? Maybe we title this poem Prayer for Whining, which today is all about a prayer for women who tweet, #Leslie Jones. Might as well include prayer for women in the gaming industry, in the paper, the pulpit, women in comedy, in politics, women in film, in uniform, in sports, prayer for women who write, prayer for women over 40, prayer for women on Tinder or any dating site. Am I right? Hands up. It's a wonder we aren't shouting all the time. We should be amazed our women friends aren't shouting all the time. #grateful, #sanity, #sit down hater and choke on it. How can Twitter not be gendered male if it permits that deluge of sexist assaults? If we can't ban trolls because of freedom of speech, what gender would you guess our freedom to be? What race? Okay. If we want to gripe about griping, then let's count how many words we wrote on Facebook, either critiquing or defending Black Lives Matter. #intersectionality, #same old crap, #black people are queer people too, on repeat. And compare those numbers to our word count on healing strategies. #remedies. I thought so. That was my spoken word poem. Spoke that word. And this is the oldest poem in the brand new book. This poem is called The Summer. And it was one of the first poems that I wrote when I moved to Kelowna like 9 years ago. I wrote this poem, I think it was the first summer I was here. The summer. That no one mentioned when I came to meet you for a lake swim the afternoon after your wedding. Don't mind the deer carcass at the corner of our driveway. Don't mind the black cavern in its cheek, nor the small, too white stalactite bone of its jaw. That I was grieving the mother of a friend who died after a slow death in hospice, and the teenage daughter of others dead in a log cabin fire that same weekend. That we celebrate our lives in contrast to these misfortunes, for these misfortunes are not ours. that we love our friends, and that this love is hard to describe, for it is slippery as lake water. Always steady and always changing, it tells us nothing of our future. That we have a future, that your wedding is our promise as well. That we ate spiced rabbit for dinner and talked about our friend who collapsed in the shower last summer. That death is all around us. That the more people you love, the more you have to bury. That I've been wondering if I should kiss a particular boy, and if that counted as an old pattern I should break. Success being the closest difference between romance and a habit I can't undo. That a grasshopper snapped its wings over the yard. That there were hot dogs and apple pie. That we cried more during the ceremony than at the side of the road. That is how it should be if we're lucky and learn well to love what's coming and what's here. That your cousin instructed us to return from the lake with something interesting, and we didn't think of it again once the Frisbee arrived. That so many of us write poems and worry for our health and well-being, and none thought to mention the deer in advance. That its leggy corpse was rock, more solid than resting, so outwardly still in the face of flies and what else. That I chose when applying sunscreen to his broad-shouldered back to regard my hand as a third party so it would not betray me. That death, when it came for her mother, was a blessing to my dutiful friend. That deer were everywhere those summer nights, a portend for I knew not what, one hoof stepping off the curb. And I think that's the end of my little, I got a minute. Well, I don't want to use my minute. You want me to use my minute? You want to, maybe another small poem? I'll read you this poem, sure. Is it a minute poem? I don't know. What happens if it's over more than a minute? Prayer for happiness. When your father dies and leaves you more money than you anticipated, can you admit there is not in his death some fickle breeze of how easy it is to embrace happiness? Liquid, hard to hold, happiness is an acid not long contained. It leaks through any trap, assumes any shape. Happiness comes to the hand holding the knife that slits the throat. Happiness in the eye of the porn find online. Relief is bedfellows with happiness when the car crash fells someone else's daughter, when cancer takes down a killer who we breezily forget is loved by family. Each time we celebrate the downfall of a dictator, we drag happiness through our muck by its collar so that happiness will not recognize itself. Thank you, Inspired Word Cafe. Wow!
We're joined here with Michael V. Smith. Thank you so much for being on Inspired Word Cafe with us tonight. Let's give him a big round of applause and thank him for being here.
So good to be here.
So I've known you for quite a while now, like a really long time.
9 years.
We won't.
Yeah.
I was going to say we won't say how long, but that's fine.
You were barely in your 20s.
I was. I think you met me
Yeah.
when I was 19.
Yeah, there you go.
I was a baby. And then I had a baby, remember that?
Yeah, you
that
had a
was
baby.
Crazy.
You would bring a baby to class.
I would bring a baby to
which
class.
was not the topic of the class.
I know. Michael would say, we're going to pass it around for 10 minutes and then we're going to focus. Okay, pass the baby, writing, focus.
That was fun. It was great, actually.
Yeah,
Poetry and babies, they go together.
Yeah, there's something there, right?
Yeah, despair, hopelessness, whining.
Milk. No,
Yeah.
maybe that's too far. I was thinking about your book with bad ideas and Arlene's continual comments about being incapable of titling her poems. And Lennon, who is the child that was in the class 6 years ago, recently wrote a book of poems, and she titled it Optical Illusions.
Wow.
She spelt it OPTIKAL ALOO. Shins, S-H-I-N-S.
Well, she spells almost as good as you.
Right?
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed. And her first poem in the book is called Spirals, spelled C-P-I-R-E-L-S.
Oh, yeah.
So there's some ideas for you, Arlene, for the future. But I want to talk about bad ideas.
Yeah.
So you have a book coming out really, really soon.
Yeah.
Your newest book of poetry, how many years has it been since you put out a book of poems?
Oh, I had a book of visual art poems. They're concrete poems, which aren't really poems, but they're poems. And that was 8 years ago. And my other book of poetry was before that. So it's
Right.
been a long time.
Right.
And these poems have been brewing for a long time. Like there's that section that's the dreams of friends and family. And I asked friends and family for those like 11 years ago.
Wow.
And I just put them in a drawer, like in a folder and saved them, took everybody's name out of them so I didn't know whose dreams were whose anymore.
Right.
So the book's been a long time brewing, but it hasn't, I've been doing other things.
Yeah. You've been
Yeah.
busy
Yeah.
teaching and
Teaching
writing
and writing
other
other
books.
books and and making little movies and
Yeah.
but poems are nice because you just they're like I don't know, they're sort of like rug hooking. You know, you do a little bit at a time and next thing you know you're done. You got a whole rug.
rug hooking.
Rug hooking. It was
When I
big in the
write
70s.
poems, that's how I feel. I'm like, I'm going to hook this rug good.
You know, it's piecemeal work. Making a
Right.
book of poems is piecemeal work.
For me, it's been frantic and obsessive. But, you know, we each have our process. I can't stop writing. Oh, my God. People are like, no more books, Erin. Put the poems away, Erin. What are you doing? Yeah, it's been scary, but that's okay. So I don't think I've ever asked you this question, so I'm kind of curious to hear your answer. How did you get started writing?
Oh, I read books. Books were my salvation. Like being a gay guy in a small town. I grew up in a small town in Ontario. Books saved me. Like I read lots of books, and they were also really civilizing. Like I read books, and they were good company. They were like my friends. The Hardy Boys were my friends.
Right.
And Nancy Drew, because I went through all the Hardy Boys, and then I started reading Nancy Drew, and she was nicer. I liked George better than she was clever. George was the woman in Nancy Drew, for all the male readers out there who
Right.
have no idea.
Yeah.
And so books really saved my life. Like they were great company when I was a lonely kid in a small town. And I wanted to do, I'm interested in lots of different kinds of arty things, so I've done lots of arty things, but writing and reading have been really consistent.
Right.
And so in high school, I started writing poems for my grade 10. I actually I have 4 dedications in this book, and one of them is my grade 10 English teacher, Elaine McDonald. And
Nice.
she knew I liked writing poems, and she said, well, just show me some. And I gave her my poems all through high school, from grade 10 right up to grade 13, and she read everything I wrote.
That's
And
awesome.
it was amazing. That also saved my life. Elaine McDonald. I say in my book, Elaine McDonald, who quite possibly saved my life.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
lovely.
it's true.
That's sweet.
It's true.
Nobody believed in me that much, but you did. You were like, fine, you're knocked up. Bring the baby to class. We'll deal with this. Everyone's like, this is so sad, Erin. It's okay. I'm fine. I made it. I
Yeah,
survived.
that
She's
was
6
great.
now. Woo!
It's amazing.
She's still alive.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you my really serious questions that are going to bring the tone down a little bit.
I'll have very whimsical answers.
Okay. If you were a vegetable, what vegetable would you be?
I can't give you my first answer.
No?
I'll say fennel.
Fennel?
Fennel.
Is that a vegetable? Is it a herb?
Yes, it's a vegetable, Erin. Fennel is fennel kind of looks like a flattened celery.
Yeah, right. But
and it
I
tastes
always
like licorice.
Yeah, I
It's
always think of
delicious.
but I maybe because I just use the seeds in
fennel
cooking.
seeds,
Right.
yeah, which make
Come
vegetables
from
grow.
the vegetable, right.
Yeah, that's how
Right.
it works.
Yeah. He's still mentoring me today. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is probably Born Yesterday with Judy Holliday, who it's a old movie. It's
Right.
a movie from the 49, I think, 1949. It's a black and white movie. And it's hysterical. It's sort of like a Pygmalion story.
Okay.
Where it's like some dude comes in and educates this blonde bimbo and they fall in love. It's a
Right.
comedy. But it's a really feminist film. For 1949, it's amazing how feminist it is. That woman, she gets everything she wants on her own terms. And it's gorgeous and hysterical. And Judy Holliday is a genius in this movie.
I'll have to check
She
it
has
out.
this way of talking in a really high voice, and then she just kind of trails off, you know. So. And then she's like barking. She's a mall, like what do you call it? Like a bad guy mall, you know. She's got a thug boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
She's the classic mall.
Right.
She yells at him. She's like, "What? What?" I love her. She talks like me.
Yeah, I was like, is this...
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I was like, I could play her if I had hair and boobs.
We could get both
It's a
of those
really
going
good
for
movie.
you.
They did a terrible remake about 3 years ago, or 10 years ago. Everything within the last 10 years feels like a year ago to me.
Right.
I tell my students, why haven't you seen this? And they're 19, and they're like, because we were 12. I was like, oh, man.
Time keeps ticking.
Speeds up.
Yeah, it certainly does. Just like the time on this interview has come to
Is
an
that it?
end. So, where can people find more of your work?
Mosaics Books. Or, you buy it online if they don't
Right.
have it in stock. But you just go to your local bookstore and you ask them to order it. That's the way to
Awesome.
get a book.
Totally.
Yeah, it's great.
And you have a website?
I have a website, michaelvsmith.com.
Cool, sweet. You can also find him at UBC, being forced to teach people like Arlene
I
how
love
to write
teaching.
sonnets.
Teaching is one of the great joys of my life.
Yeah, you're really good at it.
I love teaching. There's nothing better than a student.
I'm so successful, and it's all because of you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I would like to take credit for you, but I don't want that as my legacy.
Good call. So this has been Inspired Word Cafe. You can find more of us at inspiredwordcafe.com and on YouTube, Inspired Word Cafe. Thanks all you lovely people. Thank you, Michael V.
Yay.
Smith.
Thank you. This was great.
Have a good night. We did it.